but I cry all the time. Like if I'm sad, like I'll cry all the time. But I mean, yeah, there was this period where like I was just like doing the dish. I was like crying all the time when I was doing the dishes. I would be like, because
That's
I
so
don't have a
interesting.
dishwasher, and
Yeah.
I would just like
Oh,
settle in to
well,
do the dish
yeah,
to do the dishes, and then all of a
I would
sudden I'd
cry
start
that too.
crying.
I would cry too if I didn't have a dishwasher, honestly.
Yeah, well, I wasn't crying for that because of that,
Well,
but yeah,
yeah.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely you.
What's up, everyone? My name is Coco, and I'm here with our newest eligible in nominee, Jonny. He's 45, lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he was nominated by his friend Rob. Welcome, Jonny.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. What tell us a little bit about your relationship with Rob and who he is, and I don't know if he told you why he nominated you, but if you want to share that.
Rob is a friend from Cambridge. I've known him since about 2015, so almost 10 years. Wow. And he used to live in the same building as someone I was dating, and he would always be sitting out on the step on the front porch. So I would, every time I'd come to see her, he would be there, and he's just a good guy. So we would always just hang out, sit in the porch. Or if like she wasn't home and I would be waiting for her, I would just go and sit in the porch and hang out with him. And he used to be on the porch because he was smoking cigarettes, and he has since quit, which is great. And he doesn't live in that building anymore. And neither does that person I was dating either, actually. But yeah, that's how I got to know him. And then we just became close over the years, over the time. And yeah, that's how I know Rob.
Love that. I love that it was just such a natural, like he was this guy sitting on the stoop, so I befriended him.
Yeah, well,
I love
he's
that.
he's very friendly. He kind
Yeah.
of, he sort of knows everyone that passes by, and or he says hello to everyone that passes by. He's, friendly with his neighbors, and so it was easy to become friends with him.
What made you want to move to Chattanooga? How has it been? What's the dating scene like? Is it better or worse than Boston or anywhere else you've been? Or I shouldn't say better. Has it been more challenging?
Okay, yeah. So I moved to Chattanooga in September of 23. September 1st, pretty much, was like my first day here, really. And so it's been, little less than a year at this point. I guess almost 11 months. And I moved because I wanted the three big reasons are: I wanted warmer weather, I wanted better access to outdoor activities, and I wanted a smaller city. So those are the three main reasons. But then there's a bunch of other like nice things that are nice about Chattanooga. One is that it's 2 hours from Nashville and 2 hours from Atlanta. So I figured, like, okay, if I want to go to a bigger city, it's not that far. Like if a band, if I really want to see some band that's like passing through the country but not coming to Chattanooga, probably not. Then I can still see them, like, but either in Atlanta or Nashville if they're in those places. And also it's good. Those are good for transit too, so basically it was cool to be 2 hours from those two bigger cities. It's also all the way in the edge of the Eastern time zone. So I think we were talking about this before. Like if you went like due north from Chattanooga, you'd almost hit Chicago, but yet we're in a different time zone. So so what that means is like the sun sets really late here. But
Yeah, I experienced. You were in my head when I was in Atlanta this past weekend, thinking about that, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Wow, it really is nice to have it so much later."
Yeah, and Atlanta's even earlier than us because Atlanta's further to the east, so we're like even further west than Atlanta, but not much. But yeah, but you'll experience some of that in Atlanta for sure. So what that also means is that the sun rises later. It's not like we have longer days. It's just everything just shifted. So towards like the end of the day. So in the summer, it's fine. Like I'm not getting up before sunrise or anything. But in the winter, it's like if you're waking up at like 7, you're getting up in the dark. It sometimes does not. The sun doesn't rise until like 8, which is like kind of wild. And I don't have to get up that early in general, but or I don't have to get up very early in general, but so there were a couple of times this winter where I needed to get up for something, and I was like, oh, like I said, because getting up in the dark is kind of tough. But
It's awful.
yeah,
It's the worst.
especially when it's cold. It's like in the
Yeah.
winter, and that's the time when you would generally have to get up in the dark because of the shorter days and stuff. There's that, and then also like people seem very friendly. It's just the South. Like people are just friendlier than
People
in Boston.
are friendlier. Yes.
I visited for like 3 days, I think. Yeah, it was like about almost 3 full days before I moved here. And I saw like people with like green hair on the street and stuff, and like all kinds of tattoos and stuff like that. And so I was like, all right, there's some cool like alternatives. Like there's a cool alternative vibe here. And I felt like, I don't know if I did some research on it or if I did anything related to it when I was here, but I was like, there's a cool like art scene for a city. It's this size, and there's some cool music stuff happening. So yeah, so all those things were like factors too. And then a really big thing as well, which has nothing to do with Chattanooga, but I just needed a change from Cambridge and Boston, where I'd been living for like 20 years. So I just needed a change. Those were the reasons I moved to Chattanooga. And since I've moved here, some of the rosy glow has faded a little bit, but not a ton really. I mean, I do really like it. What has some of the biking stuff. So I hear a lot of stories about kind of like very close calls with cars and people like actually being like purposefully nasty and stuff. And that's really disheartening. And, and like, certainly like Chattanooga is a liberal city. My friend who was born and raised in Tennessee says that she thinks it's the most liberal city in Tennessee, even more so than like Nashville, let's say. But there, once you get like just outside the city, it gets like pretty conservative pretty fast. And for whatever stupid reason, like biking has become this like political issue in a big way. And it's so stupid in a lot of ways, but it's really dumb. And so sometimes when you hear these stories about like people like wanting to like, I don't know, like run you off the road in their like F-150 because that's their like God-given right and they pay taxes to be able to do so or whatever. It's just kind of like, it's like, oh man, that's depressing. But I honestly haven't had that happen to me. I just do hear stories about it and I'm like, oh God, I hope that never happens to me. But
that's why you need the helmet.
I know, right? Seriously.
Do you want to find somebody that you also want to have kids with? Do you prefer, if you're meeting somebody who has kids, that they're older? Does it really matter?
I think so. I don't have. For a long time, I felt like I didn't want kids, and then lately, I've been like, okay, I'm more open to it now than I was in the past. But it would have to be just like the right situation for me to want to do it now. I just feel, it is just kind of like late in my life. I feel like to start having children, it wouldn't be the worst thing, but just like, when I was like, when my kid is like 10, I'd already be like 55, which just kind of feels old to be a father of a 10-year-old. But that's fine. I mean, I'm a fairly youthful person, I would say. And certainly like having kids at 45 is more common now than it used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
But if I had a spouse, if I was like to be involved with someone that I wanted to have kids with and they were like my age, that's obviously could be an issue. So yeah, just being older, mother and all. But in terms of like dating someone that already has children, I mean, for like logistical reasons, it's nicer if they're older. I mean, I've never dated anyone that has small kids. It's like I said, it's only been like high school age and older, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, like little kids just require a fair bit more work. But I think like Yeah, but I think if I was to like date someone, if I had like a crystal ball and I could say like, oh, I'm gonna be in like a long-term relationship with this person, then I guess young kids would be cool because it would be kind of fun to see them grow up and stuff. I mean, my stepmom, when her and my dad got married, I was less than 4. And I knew her that, they were together for a little while before they got married. So I'd known her probably since, I don't know, I was like 2-ish, 3. I don't know. I don't know how long they were together before they got married, but so yeah, 2 or 3. So so she's like basically a second mother essentially, for me. And she's seen me grow up, as much as, her biological kids that she has with my sisters. So, like I think that it would be kind of cool to be in this situation that she was in, but I don't know. I mean, it's not a big priority for me either way.
Yeah. What do you think? Because you were saying like there's people you met in Boston that no one ever really excited you. Do you think there was like what do you think caused that, or not cause, but like was it just like generally did not like excite you? And also going tangentially from that, have you ever been in love?
Yeah, there were some people that excited me. There definitely were. It's not like that was never the case, but I just was like, I've been here 20 years and I haven't really met someone that I've like dated for a really long time. So I was like, maybe it's time to just like move on and see what else, like see what dating life looks like outside Boston. Have I ever been in love? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've definitely been infatuated with people. For me, there's like an infatuation and love, and it's like the infatuation comes first and that ends, and then it like maybe becomes something deeper, which I would maybe say is love. And I've definitely been infatuated with some people hard. Some people might say that some people might call that love, that like thing in the beginning of a relationship when you're like a few months into something where it's just like, oh my God, they're the greatest person ever. Like, I love everything they do. It's
the
like
honeymoon phase, as they call it.
Exactly. It's like, oh, whatever they do. It's like, it's so cute.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've definitely been in that situation a lot, and I don't know, like I think a lot of people say like, oh, I'm so in love right now, so I don't know. It's like, I guess I just feel like that. So if you consider that love and you could say, well, that ends at some point and then it becomes a different type of love, then I could definitely say, absolutely, I've been in love like many times. But if you're really just thinking about that, like past that like honeymoon period, past that infatuation period where it's like a little bit deeper, then yeah, I mean, I feel like a few times, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say really, because like where does that line end?
That was not a convincing answer.
I was in this relationship once, the longest relationship I've been in. Should have probably ended a couple of years maybe before it did, maybe even more than that. And I think, there was that period where like the little things started to like annoy me. And I don't know if I ever really felt like that. I don't know if I ever really felt like that I still loved that person, even though like the little things were annoying me, I mean, but it's at the same time, like I was a different person then, like that was a long time ago. And, I think like I was more that kind of stuff would bother me more than it does now. And so, so there's that. But I think like in terms of, have I ever been in love? I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like I have been, but it's like, it's true. If you have to think about it that much, like, is it really the case? I mean, I guess it's just tough for me to like define what love is and in terms of like a romantic partner and like where it starts and ends. And
well, I think like to what we were kind of saying also is that like, I mean, yes, there are like different relationships dynamics at play, obviously, between like parents and friends and and partners. But again, like I don't know that I feel personally like it's more of just those, I guess, technical logistics of a relationship than it is really like the love aspect of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, or maybe I should phrase it like it's all the same love. It just shows up in different ways. And I think it's especially hard now with, again, like social media and just like very surface level, like dating app kind of stuff. But I think so many of us were so conditioned to view love in a very specific way that it makes it hard to view love. Like imagine that same love showing up in any other way, like in the same way of like, you know, some people don't like to think about the infinite possibilities of the universe, right? And like all the different scenarios that could happen. I think some people are either afraid or like just haven't been taught maybe, or haven't seen different ways in which love can play out. And so maybe that kind of goes into like, well, have I been in love? Because it doesn't look like what I was supposed to see. So like, can it be love?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I think I just struggle with the definition, honestly. I think that's why I think I have a hard time answering it. Because I guess like on one hand, I could be like, yeah, I've been in love a ton of times, in fact, actually. If I think about it as being like getting past the point of like, or like being annoyed by someone, being like recognizing that they have flaws, that they're not perfect, and yet still like wanting to be around them, still caring about them, then like I've been in love tons of times, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. I guess I just struggle with the definition of what in love means, basically.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, maybe you have to discover your own definition of what love is.
That's true. Maybe. All right, I'm down. I'm down to do that.
But you can contemplate that on the rest of your Thursday afternoon.
That's good. Good thing to ponder.
On a bike ride. Just ponder it on a bike ride.
Bike rides can be good for that if it's a closed path, you know. But
you don't have to worry about people hitting
cars
you with their
and
F-150.
people. Yeah,
Jesus.
exactly.
What are some green, pink, and red flags that you see in other people when you've dated people, or like what you would look for that would be green, pink, or red flags?
Yep. Okay. A red flag, a pink flag for me, somewhere closer to red even is like a big foodie. Because I like eating good food, but I just don't want to go like around. When I travel, I don't want to be like going from like restaurant to restaurant because it's like highly rated and stuff. And when I eat food, like most food just tastes good to me. You know, like I've eaten bad pizza for sure, but like most pizza tastes good to me kind of thing. And it's just in general, that's the way food is for me. And so a lot of times, like I just want to eat because I need to get calories, and I'm like, I don't really care what it is, like, and like I said, it'll probably taste good. So I like to like, it's hard for me to like go to like fancy restaurants like everywhere, or like really high, like want to like just spend my time like have my
like
time
basing
dictated.
travel around
food. over like food or drink. You know, like I traveled with some friends in Nashville before I lived in a number of years ago before I lived in Chattanooga. And like, we went from like one awesome cocktail bar to another. And I was like, yeah, this Manhattan's great, but so are like the last three that we had. And like, I can't really tell the difference, but whatever. But that's another thing. Huge green flag likes to travel. I would say a red flag a red flag is like really doesn't like to travel. Doesn't and then like similarly like doesn't want to get out, doesn't want to be outside their comfort zone. Like that is a little bit of a red flag for me. Cause I think like, that's kind of where the growth happens, like
100%.
and it's uncomfortable. I mean, like when I moved down here, there's definitely been some discomfort occasionally. Like I'd say not a lot, but there's been some, and like that's like okay, yeah, like I'm out of my comfort zone, so like this is going to be a little hard. Things are a little hard, but so those are some red flags. Green flags are like just smiles. Someone that smiles like easily and often. Just kind of like easily pleased. Sort of just is able to just kind of like let sort of the bad things like sort of just like roll off them. I mean, obviously like not people aren't happy and positive all the time. And like, yeah, so I get that, but like just not trying to just not be trying to just like have like a personality, someone trying to be a person where they can like let like small things like kind of like roll off them and just, not sweat stuff too much. But yeah, just like generally positive people and like I have like a hard time being around super cynical people. In fact, when I first moved to Chattanooga, I kind of did date someone briefly who was like fairly cynical, and I was just kind of like it was hard for me. So yeah, like green flag is like just being kind to people and animals, and I would say. So if there's an opposite of pink, like it's kind of good, but it's not a big deal,
Sure.
So it's like going towards green instead of going towards red is like vegetarian. Because I'm vegetarian.
What could we call that? A chartreuse flag?
Lime.
A lime.
Yeah. So a chartreuse flag for me is like a vegetarian, it's like not essential, but it's nice. It's nice to have because I'm a vegetarian and I'm trying to get,
or like even somebody who like, I'm somebody like, I eat meat, but like I don't have to have meat for every meal, and like I very much enjoy like vegetarian dishes.
That's a
someone
nice
like that.
Chartreuse, yeah, that's a nice chartreuse flag. So, let's see what else. Someone who just like a non-judgmental person is a big green flag, or someone who's very judgmental is a red flag. I would say. Yeah, I don't know like how to say like whether it's a green or the opposite is a red. I don't know which is better or worse, but I guess
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's kind of the same, right? Like a red flag of being judgmental or a green flag of non-judgmental. I don't know, but whatever. Yes. You could say that maybe there's a difference there, but whatever. So being judgmental is someone that's very judgmental is hard for me, and yeah, I don't want to be judged like negatively, So I think that's kind of part of it. Like, yeah, I mean. I don't want someone. I think like I need someone who can like look at some of my like eccentricities and like sort of laugh at them or think they're interesting or not. Yeah, but just basically not like negatively judge me for them.
So speaking of eccentricities, why don't we flip the script on you?
All right.
So what are some of these eccentricities? Or red, pink, chartreuse flags, green flags.
Yeah. So I am very. I try to live like close to like zero waste lifestyle as possible. Okay. And well, for me, I do what I can, and like with everyone, I think a lot of people do what they can, but I just do a lot more than I would say your average American, especially. So that means like I don't throw a lot of stuff out, and like I'm always trying to like find a second use for something, and I'm like,
oh my gosh, that's right, because you dumpster dive.
So I don't want someone to like, if I'm gonna go dumpster diving, it would be hard for me if someone was like, that's so disgusting, like I'm not touching any of that food or eating any of that food, I'd be like, okay, well, I don't know. So that kind of stuff, like someone who's I don't like if someone's like, hey, that seems kind of weird. Like that seems like gross, dirty, unhealthy, whatever. Like that's fine. That's kind of like fairly normal reaction. But I would then want that person to, if I like explain to them like, well, here's the situation. And I explained all this stuff. I'd want them to be like, oh, okay, I get it.
So like open, maybe not like initially, not someone, I mean, you could have someone who's like gung ho with it off the bat, but somebody who's like maybe a little apprehensive, but is open-minded enough
Yeah.
to hear you out and expand and kind of challenge their own beliefs.
Exactly. Yeah. And right. And it's like, I mean, to say like, oh, being open-minded is a green flag. It's like, who wants someone that's closed-minded, right? I mean, obviously, like
Right.
no one puts on their Tinder profile, like, I'm looking for a closed-minded person to, like, live the rest of my life with. So
Listen, somebody probably has.
but to put, yeah, I mean, true. But I mean, to put it in a more like realistic way, it's like, yeah, I want someone who's willing to challenge their own beliefs. And if they're like super set on their ways, then that's hard for me. Similarly, like, I want someone who's going to push me to challenge my own beliefs, and I need someone who's going to like push back on my shit and who's going to be like, no, that's dumb. You're dumb. Okay, not exactly in this language, but like, you're dumb, and here's why, and like, you should do this thing differently, or you should like stop dumpster diving or whatever. And then I'll be like, and then like, I want them to like make that argument and make their argument and be like, or make their case, let's say, it doesn't have to be an argument, make their like case for like, here's why you shouldn't do that. And then I'll be like, and then it's like, and I want to be able to like say, like, hear them and understand them and be like, okay, that makes sense. Like, I want to like change that,
Yeah.
about myself. And so I need, I don't know if I'm talking about my green flags or green flags for the other person anymore. But anyways, like, I need someone who is that's also a big green flag for me. Like, and that's something I feel like I need, is like a strong person, like a strong woman, strong personality, because I feel like, I can like talk about shit as if I know what I'm saying, and I can, or I can like have these ideas in my head because they were planted maybe at a young age, or they're been informed by certain sources only. And so I need someone who's going to like push back at me and be willing to kind of like stand their ground. And I have this friend of mine, really good friend. She is Israeli, and I think part of it is a cultural difference, that she's just willing to like give back, kind of like push back at what I'm putting out, and like it's good, it's like I need that, like I need that in a partner too, because
Celebrity crush.
Okay, I have at least two. First
At
one,
least two.
at least, yeah. First one is AOC, hands down, easy. Second one is Dua Lipa. And those are the two that come to mind right away. But I know there's definitely others, and I'm forgetting who they are right now. But those two for sure. Those two. AOC is like almost on another level.
Last book you read?
Well, I'm reading right now this book called Walkable Cities. It's kind of like an urban design. It's nonfiction. I try to read more fiction than nonfiction, because I feel like I'm always all the news, like art. I do read like a lot of news articles and stuff, and it's just obviously all nonfiction, or in theory, it's all nonfiction. So I try to read fiction when I can, and Walkable Cities is okay. I started it, and then I was like, and then next thing I knew, I was like 100 pages in. So I was like, I might as well just keep going.
Last time you cried?
I'm a crier, so it's like not uncommon for me. I'm just trying to remember like exactly when the last time was. I was in St. Vincent for like all of February, because I hate the winter. So I was down there to be in the Caribbean warmth, and it was probably there. So that was in February, I guess. That's like in a cry in a big way. And I don't remember exactly, honestly, what I was crying about. But I've been feeling like pretty good here in Chattanooga, like pretty positive, like life has been feeling pretty good. So I haven't been crying too much, just like randomly. I'm not a big like tears of joy kind of crier. I tend to like cry. It's like more of like a catharsis, like of, but I cry all the time. Like if I'm sad, like I'll cry all the time. But I mean, there was this period where like I was just like doing the dish. I was like crying all the time when I was doing dishes. I would be like, because I don't have a dishwasher, and I would just like settle in to do the dishes, and then all of a sudden I'd start crying.
I would cry too if I didn't have a dishwasher, honestly.
Yeah, well, I wasn't crying for that because of that, but that's a good point. Yeah. But so but I haven't. It's been a little while. I haven't had just like a random crying fit in a little while, but
Well, speaking of St. Vincent, what's the how many different countries have you been to, and what has been your favorite place to visit?
All right. I've been to somewhere between 50 and 60 countries.
Oh,
I
wow.
stopped counting. Every so often I count so I can like have a rough idea to tell people, but I don't. I didn't want it to be like a checklist thing. Like I'm like checking the boxes of like the different countries I've been to. So I stopped being like counting all the time and like knowing the exact number because I was just like, this feels too checklisty to me. The ones I really liked, I mean, India is awesome. India was one of the first places I traveled to as like an adult in an independent kind of style when I was about 25. And yeah, so like 20 years ago. It was actually 21 years ago. And so that India is great, really easy to get around as an English speaker. Like pretty much everyone speaks English. Almost everyone's super friendly. The train system is great and like fun to ride. It's a big country with like a lot of diversity. So India is great. I had a really good time in a bunch of African countries I've visited. And yeah, again, like the English speaking ones are just easier for me because I don't really speak any other languages very well. But like I had so much fun in Ghana. Ghana was great. In Uganda, in Zimbabwe and Zambia, like those countries were great. Like those were a lot of fun. So, anyways, but also in like some of the other in North African countries, I had a really good time. Not necessarily even despite like language differences. So, yeah, those countries are great to try. I love traveling over there. I mean, it's hard. Like a lot of that traveling is hard. Like hard. Like I'm glad I did it when I was in my late 20s as opposed to now. Because like I don't know, I was like jammed in so many cars that would be harder now. Like as a 45-year-old, but yeah, but those countries I had so much fun in, and I love the Caribbean. The Caribbean I do really love as well. I love how I hate the homophobia in the Caribbean. That's like it's like one of the worst places for in terms of like LGBTQ rights. It's like always rated like down near the bottom with like some of these like countries in like Central African Republic and stuff, and which is really unfortunate. But besides that, there's so many awesome things about the Caribbean, and like I love how the language has kind of changed and developed there, and and like when I go there, and it's like I know you're speaking mostly English, but I can't understand like a word you're saying. Sometimes I mean, but it's just funny when that happens. You're like, this is wild, and then I think like, oh man, if this was like not the age of airplanes, like if this was like hundreds of years ago where I like somehow got there by a boat, like this would be its own language in like another 200 years. Like it would just keep diverging and like eventually I wouldn't even be able to understand them at all. Like really, even if they like tone down their use of like the slang and stuff. But now like because of the way that the internet, because of the way the world is now, like it's probably won't. I don't know. I'm not a linguist, but like I don't think it will develop into like its own full-fledged language. But yeah, it's just cool. So I do love the Caribbean and Mexico. Mexico is so awesome. I love Mexico.
Okay,
I can't
so
wait to
really
go back. I just love traveling. There's so many places. Like, I mean, what's not to love? Like Copenhagen. Oh man, like Europe, Denmark. Denmark is great. I mean, so many European cities are just amazing. Yeah, I just love I love traveling. I mean, most of the world is pretty great. I mean, the places I don't like, those are fewer, but I can name some of them. I mean, I don't like places where like you really have to worry about your personal safety. Like I really don't like being in those places. It's just uncomfortable for me. And I don't know, that's like getting out of my comfort zone, but in a way that like I don't really feel like I don't feel like I need to really get out of my comfort zone there. Like I feel like it's like not like feeling safe and like that someone's not going to like rob you or mug you or like harm you physically, I think is probably a good thing. And like I don't think I need to challenge myself there.
No.
So yeah, so like South Africa is a beautiful country and people are generally friendly, but like I got mugged there and like I don't know, it's like a very common thing to get mugged there, and like that's not pleasant for me.
Yeah.
So
do you have like any sort of belief in a higher anything, or what are the things that kind of guide your life compass?
Yeah, I mean, I have like I go back and forth on the higher being kind of thing or higher spirit, spiritual entities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like agnostic, so kind of like my brain is not capable of like understanding that if it does exist, like
Mm.
it's beyond the level of my brain's capabilities. So I kind of land there. Like it's not like I'm saying I don't believe in it. It's not like I'm saying I do either. I'm just sort of like, if it does exist, my brain is too weak or too like meager to comprehend that stuff. I don't know. Lately, I had this idea that like with there's like that maybe like spirits or maybe like the soul or something somehow becomes like light or something
Mm.
after you die. This is like totally scientific, but like
Mm.
Einstein theory of general relativity and stuff, you can essentially travel forward in time. Like that is totally within the realm of physics, totally possible. You just need to move like fast enough, right? So if
Right.
your soul kind of becomes light and you can basically move at the speed of light, you can essentially travel into the future, no problem, as like this light, right? So like so my like dead grandpa, let's say, could come visit me. He could be like standing in this room right here with me, even though he died like 20 years ago or around
Yeah.
that. Because if he like has become light and if his soul has like become light and he's like sort of like figured out how to like move with light and move with time and stuff, then and what do I like when I see something? It's just light. It's just that's all it is, right? So like he could just present himself in this room that I'm in right now, like standing right over there, and like maybe if I went to touch him, like I couldn't quite touch him because then it's different. But like in terms of what I see, he could be like standing right there if he can figures out how to like his soul can like change the light and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. You're speaking my language, honestly, because I love nerding out on this kind of shit. But I mean, like, it is scientific that like energy doesn't die, it just kind of redistributes. So whether it's like like light energy or some kind of other energy. Okay, so that is it for the interview. Jonny, thank you so much for coming on here and talking with me. It's been a pleasure. I love that we ran the entire spectrum of conversation. If you would like to nominate someone for us to interview, you can email us at info@eligiblein.com. Jonny, thank you again so much for coming on here and talking with me.
Yeah, thanks. That was fun.
Thanks for listening to Eligible In, a production of Eligible In Media. Our theme song is by Monster Rally. If you see someone you like on our show, or if you would like to nominate yourself or someone you love to be interviewed by us, please visit us at eligiblein.com for more information, including a link to subscribe to our newsletter, where you can stay up to date on our newest episodes, as well as exclusive features of our eligible people.
Lovely you.